guys. Today we're going to talk about simplifying radicals. You've probably seen a radical before, more so you probably called it a square root, but it's actually that symbol is called a radical. Today we're going to talk about how to simplify those. So there's three steps. Step one is we're going to try to divide the radicand, which is that number underneath the square root, into a perfect square for numbers. We'll talk about on the next slide what a perfect square is. And then we're going to separate that into two factors of its own square root, and we'll talk about what factors are in a couple of slides, and then we're going to simplify. So here first, what is a perfect square? Perfect square is a number that is generated by multiplying a number by itself. So 1 is perfect because it's 1 times 1. 36 is perfect because it is 6 times 6. 144 is perfect because it's 12 times 12. So all of these numbers here are perfect because they're made by multiplying them by itself. These numbers are nice when we're simplifying because if you take the square root of a perfect number, it comes out clean without a decimal. Now, most numbers, if you take the square root, you're going to get a decimal. But perfect numbers come out without the square root. So what we want to do is we want to split our radicand into two factors, and we want one of the factors to be perfect. Now, when I say a factor, that's just two numbers that are multiplied to give you a value. So for instance, the factors of 15 would be 1 and 5, or 3 and 5. I'm sorry, 1 and 15, and 3 and 5. Because if I multiply those together, I will get 15. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to take a number and split it into two factors, but we want one of our factors to be perfect. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say we want to find the square root of 75. So the first thing that we're going to have to do is find the factors of 75. Now I gave you a list inside of Schoology of all of the factors. So you can see here, these are the factors for 1 through 60. In Schoology, it goes all the way to 100. So you want to take a look at that list and find 75, and we'll see that the factors of 75 are 1 times 75, 3 times 25, and then 5 times 15. So these are all the ways we can multiply to get 75. What we want is we want to find the number that is perfect on this list. So if I take a just sneak peek back at my list of perfect numbers, I'll see that 1 is on that list and 25 is on that list. When we are trying to pick out the number to use, we always want to choose the largest one. So 1 is perfect and 25 is perfect, but we want to use the one that is largest. So I'm going to break this down into the square root of 25. So that is my perfect number. And 25 times 3 is how we get 75. So we're still finding the square root of 75. I've just broke it down into two factors. And I want to do that because 25 is perfect. 5 squared equals 25. So the reverse means that if I take the square root of 25, it's just going to equal 5. So the square root of 25 becomes 5, and then the square root of 3 is not perfect, so we leave it underneath the radical. And so this tells me that 75, the square root of 75, is equal to 5 square root of 3. That would be the simplified version of the answer. Okay? Now we can check that if we use our calculator to see if those numbers are indeed the same. So I'm going to just quickly go to Desmos. And if I put those in, they should come out to be the same. So we started off with the square root of 75, and we get an answer. And then we said if we simplify it to the 5 square root of 3, and you'll see that those come out the exact same. See there, they're the same. So that's how I know that my answer is correct. All right, stay tuned for the next part.